If you consider clearing your inbox as some sort of side dish that you usually have with your lunch, we're going to have a serious conversation. My name's Nat. Welcome back to the Work It podcast, where we are making a compelling case for a crumb-free keyboard. Now, in case you haven't clued into it, we are tackling a topic that might seem small, but it actually has a huge impact on our daily lives. It's the lunch break. And to help me unpack this little lunchbox is CNA Today journalist Tang Jia Wen. Welcome to the podcast, Jia Wen.
Hi Nat, thanks for having me. Really happy to be here.
Now, we're recording this a little past 2:30 p.m. Have you had your lunch?
Yes, I have had my lunch. I actually had lunch with a friend who works nearby in the
Okay.
One-North area. How about you?
No, I had my lunch as well, although I had mine alone, by my lonesome. Just one of those days where you need some time to yourself. But I do want to ask you, are you someone who religiously takes your lunch break? Or do you sometimes find yourself eating al desco, like at your desk, scrolling through emails, finishing an article while eating a sandwich?
I think considering that right now we are doing like a hybrid arrangement.
Yeah.
So when I'm in the office, my team really likes to eat together. So those are always like, I have people to eat with. But at home is when it gets a little bit more tricky. I find that I tend to eat at my desk a lot more.
Has taking lunch with the Today team changed your relationships with your colleagues, the way that you work with each other?
Oh, for sure. I think usually on our lunch breaks, we get to talk about a lot of things that are not just work related. So it was actually, I've only been here for 3 months actually. So I joined in August.
Right.
And I found that it was through these lunch breaks that I got to find out a lot more about their personal lives, I would
Wow,
say.
okay.
Yeah, because in the office, I guess people are really busy and you don't want to just go over and start a whole conversation if they have something busy to, if they're like really busy. But on a lunch break, you can really like get the conversation going, and then you can find out like little things about them, like I think someone's like food or drink preferences can also say a lot about them.
So we're talking about this because you are working on an article about the importance of taking a lunch break. What is actually happening when we skip lunch?
Okay, maybe we can talk about like if you have a really quick meal at your desk while multitasking. I think like something that can happen is indigestion.
Right.
Like when you eat something really, really fast and then you just feel like, oh, suddenly I'm like really gassy.
Uh-huh.
And then your stomach's really uncomfortable.
Right. And then it makes those gurgle sounds
Yeah.
that sometimes get picked up when we're recording episodes. Yeah.
Yes, and then you get
Okay.
like really bloated in general.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah. So
You are suddenly describing me because I feel like I didn't realize that it might be because I'm eating too fast that I have these issues.
and then I think the second thing, there's this thing called like the gut-brain axis, whereby if you eat something, it takes about like 20 minutes for you to feel satisfied.
Right.
So if you're eating like something really, really quickly, you tend to overeat because, it hasn't been 20 minutes and you're not sure that you're like actually satisfied.
But for those who are skipping lunch because they are working, does that actually affect the way that they work as well?
Yes, the experts that I spoke to actually told me that it is like proven by multiple studies that taking a lunch helps you to be more productive actually, and
More productive, okay.
yeah, and it gives you like a mental reset.
Mm.
Yeah, when you don't eat lunch, you're consistently in a state of like fight or flight. So you
Right.
can't like relax. I think when you are taking lunch while you're still working, your brain isn't really able to take a break. So one of the nutritionists that we talked to actually said that this causes your body to still be in like the fight or flight mode. So and then there's like an inhibition of like your neurotransmitters. So when you actually do eat the food, it kind of hinders like your nutrient absorption.
Oh, okay. So I'm
Yeah.
not actually getting the most from my lunch if I'm working at the same time because my brain is focused on something else.
Yeah, exactly. And
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know that it wasn't just an automatic process.
Yeah, I know. I also didn't know before this, but I was like, oh, okay.
So you mentioned earlier, you go for team lunches with the Today crew. And obviously, doing team lunches has benefits for the whole team, each individual, because you get to bond with each other. But there are also other ways that you can bond. Some might say that you can just socialize after work, or you can socialize when you're not working. You can kind of have that hour to yourself. So what do experts say about team lunches?
I think the experts that I spoke to actually talked about team lunches as a informal touch point. So like you said, yes, people can socialize after work, but actually after work, priorities like children or like families are also a big factor as to why some people skip lunch.
Right.
It's so that they can finish work faster and then go home and spend time with their children. So I think for some people it's preferable that the socializing with colleagues happens during work hours.
Right. Okay. Because, you don't want to spend additional time with these people, I'm assuming.
Yay!
Or you want to spend time with the people who matter more, right?
Yeah, and I think for structured things, like example, a team bonding session, you usually have like, oh, this is the place to meet.
Mm.
Like everything is already decided for you. But when we go for like team lunches, you often have to do things like, oh, what do you want to eat? And like, it's kind of like a working with each other kind of thing. So you really develop like a relationship around small decisions like that as well.
Right. Okay. So I kind of want to get to the bottom of why lunch has become or is not so important to some people. Why some people take lunch at their desk or some people skip lunch entirely, right? I noticed that when I'm in the office, my team almost always has lunch between the hours of like 12 to 2. But when we're on work from home days, that hour shifts a lot later from like 1 to 3, 2 to 4 sometimes. So have you spoken to anyone who has said something about this, about the impact that working from home or hybrid work has had on the lunch break?
One of our HR experts actually talked about how when you're working, when like the line between, working and lunch gets blurred at home, usually it's because when you're at home, it's harder to set aside like a physical space. So for example, when you're in an office, you usually have pantries, and even if your pantry is like, not very appealing, you still kind of have that designated physical space whereby okay, this is where I go to have my coffee break, eat my lunch. And yeah, you do have that at home, like your dining table, but I think there's a lot less, I would say, social pressure and also incentive to get up from your desk and then go over to the kitchen or dining area when it feels the same.
Right. Because it seems like it's within the same space. So one of the other things that I think might be a factor for a lot of maybe younger employees, younger workers, is that they don't see their bosses taking lunch as often, I guess, as other colleagues, right? And I actually experienced this in my early part of my career. One of the first jobs I was at, my manager would never have lunch with team members. He would always have lunch by himself, usually around like 2 to 3 p.m. So it's a little bit of a later lunch as well. So when we see him come up to the lunch area, it's kind of like a signal for us to be done with lunch. Does this
Yeah.
have any impact on the lunch break as well, and I guess team dynamics?
Oh yes, definitely. So our HR expert actually talked about this. So I think as we usually take a lot of cues, right, from our managers. So when you see your manager work through lunch, I think it feels awkward to stand up and be like, okay, bye, I'm going for
Right.
lunch now.
So I guess it's the same feeling as like on your first day of work, you come in and then you know that your working hours until 6. But at 6, no one is standing up and you don't want to be the first one to be like, I'm headed off, right?
Yeah, so actually, our HR expert did tell us that, in order to have a workplace where people feel comfortable, it's very important for the leaders to model that. So because when people see you doing that, it sets the expectation that, okay, like lunchtime here is prioritized and they want us to take a break. And yeah, I think for all my previous workplaces as well, my lunch breaks were really, the leaders kind of set the mood for these lunch breaks. So the workplaces that prioritize lunch and that I noticed tend to have slightly closer teams all had managers who were the ones who rallied us to like, hey, it's already 12, why are you still in the office?
Right.
For people who are really, really packed, our experts did give tips. So sometimes, like, yeah, it can be really hard to tear yourself away from your desk when you do have a deadline. So when you anticipate that coming up, they advise you to basically prepare for that. So the night before, you can have like a quick, easy assemble kit of like healthy food, healthy and easily digestible food. So things
Right.
like tofu, fish, and then like veggie, like salad, just quinoa and also nuts. Throw it in a box, and then the next day in the morning you can just like take it and go to the office.
Okay, so like a meal prep of sort.
Yeah.
So meal prepping actually helps you make sure that you have lunch without taking away too much time from your day.
Yes, because I think
Okay.
you get to meal prep the night before when you tend to have a bit more free time.
Right.
Yeah, so in the morning, you don't have to think about, oh, what am I going to eat? You just like grab it and then you have it ready beside you.
Okay, that could be something to explore. Although for me, I'm usually too lazy at night to do things for tomorrow. I'm always like, this is tomorrow Nat's problem. I'm not going to do it right now. But we'll see if that improves later. Is there something that leaders can do to change up their culture and make sure that their employees feel comfortable and want to go for their lunch breaks?
Yeah, I think like we mentioned just now, it really starts from like the leaders. So for the leaders themselves can also take lunch breaks to kind of show that, you know, it's important. And even when it comes to working from home, small things can be done as well. So our experts said that you can actually kind of, you know, indicate that, oh, okay, so during the lunch hour, please, like no meetings should be arranged. And actually, they also brought up something that I thought was quite interesting. So when you're, let's say you're working like a really, really remote job, they actually suggested that you can invite your colleague to a virtual lunch.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's like a virtual lunch break to ensure that you get it. Firstly, you get to eat your lunch. And then secondly, you also get to socialize with your colleague, even if it's online.
Right. I remember that was a thing during the pandemic around the 2020, 2021 era.
Yeah.
Where people would just get on a Google Meet or like a Zoom call and just have lunch together.
Yeah.
So, but would that not count as a little bit of a structured social interaction that would be less informal than a usual lunch in the office?
Yeah, I would say it's structured, but in a way, it's still definitely a break from like doing work.
Right.
Because like, you know, you're interacting with someone.
Okay.
Yeah.
So kind of baby steps. Just try to get that break in the day first before thinking about the fact that lunches can be a social touch point.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
Well, on the fact about lunch being a social touch point, some people actually prefer to just have lunch by themselves. They think this is their hour and this is their me time, and they feel pressured whenever there's a lunch bonding hour. For example, our very dear producer was telling me that sometimes she just wants alone time. Sometimes she just wants that 1 hour to sit by herself, enjoy the music of the birds, the rustling of the leaves in the trees. How do these people make space for both sides of lunch? You know, the break aspect where they can really unwind and just enjoy the food that they're having, but also having some team bonding and getting to know the team members that they work with over lunch.
I'm really glad that you brought up, you know, the birds chirping and the leaves rustling, because that's actually one of the tips that our nutritionist gave us.
Oh, okay.
So I guess even if you're not talking to your colleagues, something that you can do is to take like a 1 minute recharge. So you take 3 slow deep breaths, and then you really, okay, you look at your food and you're like, okay, this is nutritious. And then you kind of explore, you observe the temperature, and then you eat slowly, you chew slowly,
Right.
to kind of like, you know, ground yourself.
Mm-hmm.
For people who like to eat alone as well, like that's okay, but I think it's like the expert also said that it's important for you to get up and go somewhere else to eat your
Right.
meal.
So go somewhere far from the office where no one will bump into you, or is it like to just get your steps in, and like what's the purpose of going out to eat?
Oh, it's really just to give yourself a change of environment.
I see. Okay. So
Yeah.
change environment, change your mindset, really sink in that, you know, you're on your break and you're not thinking too much about work.
Yeah.
But how about for your regular worker? Is there one habit or anything at all that they should incorporate into their lunch breaks or into their work day to try to reclaim their lunch breaks?
It's like kind of like a mindset shift has to occur. So aside from, it's more than just food. Having that lunch break is really a mental reset for you. So you can look at it in a way whereby, oh, this lunch break is actually making me more productive,
Right.
which I think is kind of the primary goal of most people who skip their lunch breaks, because they want things to get done. But hey, what if taking a lunch break can help you to be more productive? So I think kind of reframing how you see this lunch break is the most important thing that you can do.
Right. So understanding that skipping now might let you get 1 or 2 things done, but the 3 or 5 or 7 things you're doing later in the day will get affected.
And definitely like this whole long-term implication thing, because if you constantly eat, skip your lunch breaks, or you eat really fast, it can also lead to like the long-term like indigestion can also lead to things like, you know, weight gain and just general like bad health.
Right. So you don't want people to be unhealthy. So make sure you
Yeah.
have your lunch. Don't skip your meals. Talk to your colleagues every now and then, but also take some time to smell the outside and listen to the birds singing and everything.
Yeah, smell your fish soup. Yeah.
Smell your fish soup. Okay, have very purposeful lunches. Thanks so much for sharing all of this with us, Jia Wen. And thank you for coming on the Work It podcast.
Thanks for having me. It was great chatting with you.
Yeah, it was great chatting with you as well. If you want to read Jia Wen's article on the importance of taking your lunch break, just look out for it on channelnewsasia.com/today. But what's your take? Are you a lunch lover or a dedicated desk diner? We would love to hear from you, so please drop us an email at cnapodcast@mediacorp.com.sg. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to follow and rate us. You can find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Me Listen, and YouTube. Now, of course, we wouldn't have a podcast without my favorite lunch buddies. So credits to the team behind the Work It podcast is Ho Pei Ning, Junaini Johari, Joanne Chan, Tiffany Ang, and Charlene Tan. Video and sound by Hanida Amin and Joseph Jeremiah Jacob. My name's Nat, and remember, don't just work through lunch, make your lunch work for you.